Good morning, this is Lisa from Local King Rubber Stamp. Ready for today's tutorial? So today's tutorial, again, we are going to use the same stamp set and the same matching die set to create something totally different compared with the past few tutorial I just create. So if I haven't got a chance to take a look at the other tutorial, make sure you check it out. This is the fourth project that I have using the same stamp, same die cut, and the same background. So I just want to show you how much fun that you can have with just one stamp set and the one die cut set and the one background. So it's totally depend on you. Rubber stamp is so much fun, and it's endless creation. Is all depend on what you're going to do with it. So let's start today's tutorial. This is the first card that I made. And today's tutorial, I want to show you some kind of special paint that it work well on the dark cardstock. You can use a black, you can use a dark brown, you can use navy blue. So that was the first one. I think it is pretty nice, but I kind of feel it's a little bit too much. So after I create this tutorial, this card, I like though, but I think I want to try something else. So the second card that's come out like this. So it's kind of a shaker card, but I just make it like a partial shaker card. So you will be the judge, and you are going to leave me a comment to let me know which one is your favorite. And like I say, all the Local King online tutorial, the YouTube tutorial, I always try to share some great techniques and great tips with you. So of course today's tutorial is something pretty useful. So let's start it. Okay, so there's a lot of different kind of media material on the market, and I am not sure, have you heard this water palette from the Art Crest? I am going to do a little bit research. I hope you can still find this kind of watercolor palettes. They come with a few different kind of color. They are like a watercolor, but they work well on the black cardstock. So this is the one I had over 10 years, and they still work pretty well. And then if this is not available on the market, I am going to do some research. I don't know yet, but I think you can still find it. If you can't find this one, this is, I'm sure if you go to Michael's, you can find some nice Parallax watercolor you can use on the dark cardstock, but the quality is really hard to tell. I saw they have some kind of like a color palette. It look like that. It's only $7.99, but I really don't know what's the quality of that. So this is the one I purchased from the Amazon a while ago, and I really like it. I haven't used it, and I don't remember what's the price, but I will add the link on the bottom. So it depends on your budget, you know, and then if you like to purchase this, if you don't have it, you like to purchase one, this one, I think it is a great watercolor paint, and they are kind of parallax, and then they work well on the dark cardstock. You know, since I was a little girl, I always attracted the color. You know, it's just so pretty. You know, just want to have as many as you can. Okay, so that's the other one. They call the Paul Robbins. Okay, so they come with this little case, and I think it's good. I don't remember how much is it. This one was, I have to find the price. I will add the link in the bottom of this tutorial, so just check it out. Or you can check the Michaels, and I did saw they have some kind of palette. It's like too many, probably like 24 or 30 sticks. It's only $37.99. You never know. It's cheap doesn't mean it's not good. Okay, so that's the paint. We are going to do that. And before we start, actually, I want you to do this. This is one of the good tips I'd like to share with you. So this watercolor paint I had for probably over 10 years already. Okay, so you can see some part is kind of cracked, right? But that doesn't matter. So I am going to actually pre-rinse those watercolor before I'm going to use it. So that way, you know, it will be ready for you when you want to start coloring. It's actually work better. So you just get one mist box, like a mist bottle, and kind of just spray some water on top and let it set. So by the time you want to use it, they will become soft. So that's for you ready to use, just like that. Okay, so that's the first tip I am sharing with you, and the same same as this one. Okay, so this is like just use a few times, and then you kind of just mix with the water, not too much. Something like that. So even though it's with a watercolor, so sometimes watercolor paint you leave there for a while and then they dry out. You can do that. Okay, and then let's just start the rest of them. So I am using the black cardstock and the mirror paper just for layering. And I have these distress oxide. This is the first time I use it. Actually, they are pretty good. And what else? Paintbrush. So I have a nice paintbrush, the water container for mixing, and I need the one acrylic block is my color palette. Okay, so this is the first one I made. I think it's colorful, it's pretty good. It's really depending on what do you like. So I want to try those watercolor on the dark cardstock, right? So I started with gold color. I show you gold embossing, and then the color really didn't show as well as I was expecting, and then I tried the black and I like the black better. So what I do is I just stamp the image and did a clear embossing on the black cardstock, and I'm going to show you how. Okay, let's move on, and I just do step by step so that way we don't confuse. Okay, so I am going to just grab a piece of black cardstock. Okay, so what do you usually use to do the embossing? Do you use a VersaFine or do you use a Brilliant? What kind of impact do you use for your embossing? Most of the time I use a VersaFine, but recently I just discovered VersaFine is perfect for embossing because they are really detailed. And then like this hummingbird, this Flit and Fly hummingbird is really detailed. So I found out just with this VersaFine black with clear embossing, and I don't really lose those detail, and it shows well. So I just use VersaFine, and I just going to stamp my 3 hummingbird. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. It's hard to see, but I'm going to show you. I actually really like it. So from the side, okay, you see it doesn't. You can't really see, right? But it's kind of creates some kind of watermark, but it's not really like you cannot really see. Okay. And then I am going to do the embossing. So where is it, my embossing tray? So I am going to just do the clear embossing, okay? So when you do the clear, even though you miss some part of a image, it doesn't really matter. And then because this hummingbird is really detailing, so that's why I use a VersaFine and I use a clear embossing. So I'm going to just heat up. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is my hummingbird just with black ink VersaFine impact with clear embossing. And I actually found out it's pretty nice to create your own pattern paper. It's kind of watermark, right? Okay, and now we're going to die cut it. If you have been following my tutorial, you probably realize for these kind of things, I usually cut first before I color it. The reason is if sometimes I didn't put my die cut at the right position, and then after if you color first, and then you accidentally, you know, like off the line when you die cut it, and that's a perfect way to ruin your artwork. So I die cut first. If I didn't get a clean cut, or if my guiding this guiding window is shaved a little bit, I will know it before I start coloring, because sometimes coloring takes a little bit longer time, right? But it should be fine because I'm using guiding window, but sometimes I'm kind of lazy. I don't use the guiding window. I just put the die cut on top, and most of the time it's okay, but just in case, you never know, right? Okay, so I have my 3 die cut hummingbirds. You can see with clear embossing. I'm going to just leave it. I'm going to color later because we are going to do something else, and then that's because it needs a little bit time to dry. So I am going to do the background first. Okay. So this is a card I am using. I'm making the larger card again, like I said, because I ordered 200 those kind of vellum envelope. It's just by mistake. So this is a 5x7, the card, and the silver layering mirror paper is 6.75 by 4.75, and the front page is 4.5 by 6.5. Okay. So the first card, what I did is I just did the black embossing, just like the way you do the hummingbird and the color then, and I did the gold brilliant impact. If you like this card, you know what, later I'm going to explain to you how we're going to do it. It's just I stamped in the background this way. But I just found out it's a little bit busy. I want to have a little bit something a little bit softer. So I am using this Distract Oxide impact, and I show you how did I do it. And then you can see some kind of splash blue there. How did I do that? And then partial window for the shaker card. Okay, so I have my card stock here. This is, like I say, is a 4.5 by 6.5. And then we are going to use this Distract Oxide. Have you tried this impact? This is the first time, and I'm going to do a little bit more research to show you how to do that. Okay, so I am going to use the magic mushroom. If you don't have one, you don't have this magic mushroom, you can use the sponge. They should work just fine. I just like this magic mushroom because it's easier to blend. Okay, and then here's something you probably concerned. Can I use this magic mushroom with this oxide impact? Yes, you can. You can use chalks, you can use pigment too. But the only thing is that when you use dye base, you don't have to clean your magic mushroom right away. But when you use a pigment, oxide, or chalk, you are going to clean your mushroom after you use it right away. So otherwise, you don't want to become like a hardened, and then you lose this softness for blending. Okay, makes sense? Okay, so just let me try to remove all the dirty color on top. Okay, so when you use your magic mushroom, apply on the like a white towel. As soon as when they don't show the color, they are ready to use. They will be. You can start with a new color. So I'm going to just pick up a little bit this oxide color. That's what it looks like. Okay, not too much, and then you can see I kind of dab a little bit off on the color block because I want to start with a little bit, and then you can kind of just tapping it. Okay, you push hard, they become lighter. You release a little bit pressure, they become lighter. Okay, so we always start with a light color. Okay, so kind of blending a little bit, and then go back to deep a little bit more in the middle. I'm kind of like tapping it, make it a little bit lighter. It's kind of reverse. It's very interesting, you know. So theory is kind of reverse. You want the lighter, you add more. You want it darker, you release your pressure a little bit. Okay, and then once it's ready, you can kind of blending it a little bit. Okay, so that's that light blue, okay? And then remember what you have to do. Clean your magic mushroom, right? So what you're gonna do is just use a wet cloth, kind of wipe off that ink. Okay, don't wash your magic mushroom. If you wash it, they are really like a magic. They are going to grow up 2 times. Do you want to see? You know, when I received the first prototype, I didn't know. I was trying and like, it takes 1 week to come back to, you know, regular shape. Okay, so that's the foundation color. Very nice, right? And then I am going to grab a color. I think this blue color is good. Okay, this blue. Okay, see, because I already pre-moistured this paint, right? It's actually ready to use, but I kind of want to create some kind of splash. So I'm going to add a little bit. Okay, and then just use one of the, I just use my forks here. Kind of just tapping it. Let's pick a little bit more. Don't worry, I'm going to show you. Isn't that pretty? Okay, and then you're going to dry it before we add the background stamp. So I'm going to just use a heat gun to dry it, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I just dried the background with the heat gun, and now we're going to do the background. So the background, like I say, because this stamp is a little bit smaller than my cardstock, so I want to make sure I don't get a crooked image. So when I put my stamp on the table, I try to make sure my stamp is parallel with those grid. And then when I stamped it, I just want to make sure it's straight. And then now we're going to apply the ink. I found out this ink is actually very moisture. You just want to gently apply. Okay, you don't want to squeeze your impact because it's going to be over ink. Your stamp is going to be ugly. And then kind of just eyeball that, and this is how you can see from the side. You can, okay, and then we'll kind of just rub it with your finger. Isn't that pretty background? So so far, do you like the blue or the gold? I think they're both pretty, right? Okay, and then I'm going to just let this one set on the side, wait a little bit, and then we're going to do the coloring. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do the coloring. You are going to have a color block. That's your mixing palette. I have a nice paintbrush. I have my water here. Okay, and you will see the magic. And then because we did embossing, right, that make this so easy. This morning I actually just spot a hummingbird in my garden. They are just so pretty. And then I was doing some research. I found that the hummingbird have those beautiful color. So that's what give me an idea. So I am going to start with green, a little bit light green, and those paint you can actually blending them together. And then because we did that embossing, that make the coloring so easy. And the trick is every time after you do the coloring, you pick out the color, you got to clean your brush. Okay, so mix a little bit. That's a blue. Okay. Okay, you don't have to worry about the detail, okay? And those watercolor paint, you can actually blending the color. Okay, can you see? I'm going to do some. Every time you want to change the color, you got to make sure clean your brushes, okay? Mix well. Okay, if you find out it's too much pink, and they can be blending it. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit orange. Okay, I'm going to bring it closely. See the beautiful shimmering color. Okay, and then let's try the other one. I'm going to start this beautiful purple. And then this one have some kind of pearlax color. If you have some of those pink, just be careful. You don't want it too watery. Okay. And then that embossing kind of create some kind of outline, the hill, make your coloring so easy. Okay, that's green. And I will show you kind of blue. Very pretty. Right? And then let's try the other one. I'm going to start with blue on top. And I'm going to show you something else. Okay, so I'm going to try copper, maybe. Copper color. Like I say, if you find out sometimes this coloring is a little bit too boring for you, always you can fast forward it, right? But some people, they like to see the detail, like how to coloring, those kind of stuff. Okay, so that's my 3 hummingbird. Okay, and then here is something you might, if you have a Q-tip, that's good. If you don't have a Q-tip, this is what I do. I just use a clean brush. Kind of, you know what, or you can just use like a wet cloth or like a tissue with a little bit water on top, so kind of clean, you know, because when we're coloring we have an outline, right? And the outline was actually covered with embossing powder, but when you color, if the outline pick a little bit those watercolor paint on top, so just use a clean Kleenex with a little bit water, kind of wipe off the color which was setting on that embossing line, so that way the outline will pop out more. So that's my coloring. Okay, let's move to next. Okay, I actually going to show you something that was a part of my boo-boo, but I actually found out it's kind of interesting. You see what happened to here? It wasn't completely dry, so I accidentally kind of touched it, and I found out it's actually kind of pretty. So I just use my hand, kind of create a little bit swirling. How do you think? I think it's pretty nice. That's just one of my excuses to cover my boo. But that's okay. I think it's pretty good. You know, instead of just make one more, you kind of just kind of rubbing it, right? And the people, they don't know you try to cover your boo-boo. You say, oh, what a special effect you create. Yeah, that's exactly tell them, oh, it's a special effect. Okay, so we are going to stamping this hummingbird bird feeder. Like I say, my first one, I stamped 2. But I colored it and I just found out it's kind of too much, but I think it's pretty. So, but this one, I'm not going to color it in, and instead of that, I'm going to show you how you can make a partial shaker card. Okay, so we're going to use VersaFine again. And in my previous tutorial, I keep explaining how you can get a straight image without the crooked, right? It's very important your bird feeder want to hang there straight. You don't want to have a crooked one. See, that bothers me a lot. I'm a messy person, but my artwork has to be clean. Okay, again, and then when you stamped it, you're going to make sure you don't get the crooked image. So I am actually guiding with my acrylic block, not with the rubber. So give a nice firm press. Okay. How do you think? Okay, so you decide if you want to do the embossing or not. I think it's good enough. I'm not going to do the embossing. Okay, so we are going to do the partial shaker card. So that way we are going to need a sharp knife. Okay, so we are going to just cut the bird feeder, the glossy area, so that way we can create a window. So I'm going to just fast forward and be careful when you're cutting. The trick of the cutting is have a sharp knife. That's it, nothing else. Okay, so I cut my bird feeder, the glasses part, and then I'm gonna flip over and we're going to just seal with a piece of acetate. Okay, and I love to use just white glue is easy, and then you can go the small area just like that. So you just apply some white glue and then just use your finger, and then that's how we seal the front, right? And we're going to use the foam tape. We're going to kind of frame just to create a box, so the place that we can put those micro beads or stuff. So you can put the micro beads, sequins, all kind of stuff. Actually, I saw something just in front of my working station. I'm actually going to try that. I think that will looks awesome too. Okay, so I create my windows. Okay, and create the box. Okay, and then you kind of gotta be careful those paint, those splash one. You just want to make sure it's completely dry, but it's still a little bit wet. Okay. So I am going to, let's just try the sequence here. Okay, I'm gonna try the silver color. Okay, let's see. Because let's see, well, let's try the silver. Okay, for this card I made in the back, I just used the same black cardstock. But this one, I am actually going to just use this silver background. So maybe I'm going to change my, I think silver will do. Okay, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to fix my boo-boo because I have a boo-boo, some boo-boo happen. So we're going to just put some those mini sequins. Okay, not too much. And I'm going to seal it. This is a little bit too small. So I have a piece of acetate here. You got to seal it. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to just remove the tape. Be careful here. So remove the tape here and put that piece on top, and then make sure you really push down. Okay, so that's how to do that, right? So, and I use the Local King's corner die cut to cut the corner. So that's what to look like before we put that bird on top. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix my boo-boo. See those splash on top, I didn't wait it's completely dry, so it's kind of mess my background, right? So, but I'm too lazy to create the other card. I'm going to fix it. So I am going to add a little bit more. So I think this purple will do the job. So I'm going to just add a little bit more splash. Or maybe white, I think. Let's just do white. Okay, we're gonna add a little bit more. Yeah, the white do the job. Yeah. See, I add a little bit white. Okay, and then when you put those 3 hummingbirds, you try to put the place that you make a boo-boo. Okay, so I am going to grab my foam tape. So I'm going to just put the foam tape. Be right back. Okay, so I just glue all my hummingbird on the final project and I made some mistake. Instead of a do over again, I'm going to show you how I fix my mistake. Okay, so the first card I did, I stamped the bird feeder on top. First of all, I wait until the completely dry before I stamping that bird feeder, and I did the clear embossing. So the bird feeder kind of set well in the back, right? And then for this card, I didn't wait this one completely dry, and I stamped that bird feeder, and then I didn't do the embossing. So my bird feeder, some of my little hummingbird is kind of disappear. So what are you gonna do? I really don't want to spend more time to, you know, to do the background again. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to use my bird feeder, and I'm going to just ink the hummingbird which was kind of messed up. And then I am going to just stamp it. Okay, just partial. Okay, see, I have my hummingbird there, right? I'm going to do the clear embossing. I'm going to die cut it. Okay, so here is how I fix my boo-boo. You can see this hummingbird and this hummingbird is kind of like a smudge, right? And then so I just embossing on top, and this is so easy because they all have something called the kiss cut. So this bird, I can so easily trim it off. Okay, just like this. And I'm going to just glue back to that place, and I show you how I save my boo-boo. So, you know, this is a handmade craft, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes boo-boo happens, so happen, and they just fix it. No big deal. Okay, I'll show you one more time. This is before, and this is after. I remember when I was in the art school, one of my teacher, the first day of the class, he just took my eraser away. He said, you don't need the eraser. If you made a mistake, you fix it. You fix it without the eraser. You don't erase your mistake. You try to fix your mistake. Okay, see, I just fixed my boos. Okay, so that's today's tutorial. This is the fourth card that I use for the same stamp and same matching die. And hopefully I can come up with something for tomorrow. I trying to show you the one stamp set, one die cut set, and one background. I show you how many different kind of possibility that you can do. If you have been following my YouTube, you probably see that was the one we create the wrapping paper. It's pretty cool. And then the shaker card with the bird feeder. The sympathy card. And then you can decorate your envelope. Also, I was showing you how to use the hot glue to create your wax seal. So this is going to be today's tutorial. I hope you like it. Do you like the color bird feeder or you like the one with some shaking stuff inside? Okay, so this is Lisa from Local King Rubber Stamp. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye!